here to do your read today for your sun, moon, rising. You can also, because I do this psychically as well as astrologically, you can also look at this as your Venus house, or do actually look at those signs, which will help you have a broader view. Now, I'm doing this quite off the bat, quite raw and organic, where usually I pull the cards and then tune into them, then come to you and look at the astrology. But I'm just going to off the bat show you part of the process. Deeply speaking, you in your own energy are going through a deeply transformative state. Now, when I say that, I'm going to leave that there. That's relating to that. When I say that, we do have this month, just to give you a heads up, we've got Mercury in Pisces. That also is going retrograde. Now, that's going retrograde on the 16th. So from the beginning of the month off the bat, you may find, especially with Pisces, for you guys, Pisces is your second house and is linking in quite connectively to Neptune. Now, when we look at Neptune, it also can be deeply psychic. It can be the subconscious mind, the psyche of situations, the dream state, which again can be the 12th chakra. On top of that, you do have other placements. Juno, for you guys, is in your 9th house, which again is your religious house. So again, it is moving up rather. And yes, it does move down, because when it moves down, when you're having a download, you're purging an aspect of a belief system, and you're also looking at things from a very unique perspective at the same time. So in an egoic sense, when we speak of the ego, it's from childhood, pain body experience occurs, we form mechanisms to deal with the actual environment in which we're living in, and that can cause trigger points. And I am going to make some help videos based upon how to work with each of the planets and when they come about, how that's transforming us. Now, definitely with Uranus and Taurus, this change that we're going through, especially from last month moving forward, and a lot of it is stemming back from the last 3 years. And again, with the harsh aspects of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and then what at the end of the month we have the same trigger points coming up, looking at those things and really having to then re-understand what we are and how we perceive the world. So it can really shake you up spiritually. You find when you are going through a purgatory state with the spiritual awakening, because it never ends, it's an ongoing process. But for those of you that are new to that process, what you're going through is incredibly normal. I'm just here to tell you that, okay? It's incredibly normal because you're outgrowing a way of being, especially with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn, what we deemed as family, tribe, kin, a stable foundation, something to rely on, how we directly related to those energies, and whether they vibrationally were in alignment for us, and even having to learn how to be in that energy without it directly impacting us in a sense. And it is about looking at our cup. At times we can have the give and take, and we can feel that we're being taken advantage of. Next month for you guys is going to be huge, because Saturn is retrograding into Aquarius, your home sign. So you're going to be taking it from your own very unique perspective, as well as and it's going to be an introduction almost to a Saturn return for you guys. So this is going to be deeply transformative for you. But being in your own energy with that, you might find it quite beneficial, where you feel you're really stepping into alignment. So I'm feeling if you are going to have some testy times this month, and you have in January, more so, most of us collectively are going to have frustrated energies, squaring aspects for the planets, and then moving into a time when it's going to become lighter come March and beyond. So it's really trying to move through those choppy waters, see what the universe is trying to show us, and especially with such amazing aspects being made in your 12th house, which is the subconscious mind. Now, if we go to the lower frequency, it's the hidden resources, secrets, enemies, it can be illicit affairs, and betrayal, so to speak. But it doesn't have to be playing out that way. It can be very spiritual, where if you're in your own energy and you're in self-awareness of it, you're going to utilize it more effectively. when it does come to a pain body experience, if you have had betrayal in the past and you're trying to nut and work through the nuts and bolts of that situation, again, I am going to try and make some videos very much based on that. And I have my studio set up at all times now, so it's a bit more workable with me. Yes, we are moving into Mercury retrograde, so it can directly affect technology, communication, and not all communication is communication, okay? So there can be the non-verbal communication that you're assessing as well, which again is linked in with your psyche and your subconscious mind. For you guys, Aries and Chiron is your third house, and your third house is all to do with your day-to-day routine. And you know, it's really going to be an essential part for you guys in particular over the next 8 years, which this also will directly relate to the collective. Because we are going to have Saturn in Aquarius, which is the father figure of the universe. So we will be operating very similar to you. The requirement as such will be there, but it will be more from an organisational factor. And you guys really have that as an innate art, but you're going to feel more in your rational mind of being able to achieve those targets. Now, do be easy on yourself moving into the month. Try not to get disheartened, because it is a very temporary energy that we are going through, but it's changing us and evolving. And when we look at Chiron, it's the lotus flower living within the muddy waters. So, you know, from all the things that you go through theoretically and all the things we bury, beauty can actually grow from that. So seeing the light and the dark, seeing the yin and yang and balancing both parts, but also seeing how in innate nature we can't have compost without, you know, growth. So, and I know that's a terrible analogy, but it's almost like the fertilization and the growth and the decay of situations, there's where we go through that. So it's trying to grow and change with that. I had that placement going on in different areas of my chart, and I know that the one key theme was organisation. There may be challenges coming at you, and you're trying to uniquely manage your plans as to what you want versus what other people want and how they directly link in. And it's almost like becoming a puzzle piece and trying to sit yourself into that situation and wondering how you're going to effectively do that. Like, how does that fit? Sometimes it's like, and I used the analogy this morning when I was meditating, of being very scared of transformations, because Uranus and Taurus is all about, you know, we want the assurity of things and the stability of things, but uniquely we have been living like this for a very long time, and it doesn't mean that there is safety in assurity. I mean, the sun comes up, the sun goes down, there's assurity in that. Does that mean that everything in the world is perfect? No, not necessarily. So yes, there's comfort in the Taurian energy. You know, we like to have things staying the same, but Uranus comes around and pulls the rug from under our feet, and we then may have a trigger come up. So utilizing your management skills and the house activated Aries and Chiron for you guys with those wounds, things that will come up will come down to what you can do to manage those things. That can be your day-to-day routine, your sleeping habits, your eating habits, exercising. But again, it's a lot of organisation. It's the whole notion of, if you want something, build it and they will come. It will grow, so to speak. So it's with the other aspects with Saturn and Pluto at the moment, it's the ebbs and flows of these changes. Uranus shows us these changes, whether we like it or not, they're happening at all times, and how we can bounce with the changes. But the aftershock of those changes at times can cause a ripple effect where we're feeling quite disorientated. How do we go about dealing with these challenges? Why is this vibration coming up in us? Now, the Leo moon is really asking us, which again, I will do a video based on that, and I'll come to you guys live so you can ask questions. And at the end of each video, I do tend to allow super chat questions. So at an emotional, spiritual level, they are at the critical degree. So it is going to be a full moon. And again, any full moon is a purge. Any new moon is a new beginning. But you can't get one without the other. So some of the old energy of last month's moon, which happened to be in Aquarius, your sign, was again, you know, wanting to bring that new energy into you, and then moving forward, what are you going to have to leave behind? You know, what will you need to leave behind because it's outdated in your own frequency? Moving into the Leo moon, this, and again, it can be the energy of Leo is the chakra that governs our inner child, but it's also our strength, it's also our core wounds, and it does link into childhood. So it will link in again even further into the nodes in Cancer and Capricorn. Looking at the reality of the power you have in situations, because Leo is a very powerful sign. With power comes responsibility, and it's almost like that analogy of putting your money where your mouth is, but again, not from an ego experience, but the sun's energy does come through in the chakra that actually governs inner child wounds, etc., similar to Chiron. So with that, it's necessary to go in and link where that link in the matrix is, so that you can embody that power and make decisions to proceed forward. So the solution really with the full moon is looking at those realities inside yourself and actually going inside. Especially if you're triggered. I always do say, look at your life and the trigger point as a traffic light. Red, the foundation, get grounded. Potentially red, you know, it creates hunger. It's very similar to Mars energy. It can be very aggressive. It can be a trigger point that comes up as like, whoa, okay, red, stop. Whew. Trying to get grounded, take your shoes off, get anchored in, meditate. And sometimes we do need to create healthy boundaries, and that does come into the solar plexus, where we're going, okay, it's a bit too much right now. I need a little bit of time to meditate. I'm going to tune into these things and how they directly relate to me. How can I get myself grounded so I can directly make a decision? With the yellow on the traffic light, it's stop before proceeding. Green is then when you've made a plan of action. What are you wanting the direct outcome to be? Is it within your control? Isn't it? If it isn't, there's nothing you can do. But you can. There are still choices. There's choices to tolerate certain things because it's still a choice. Or there's the belief that a suppression of a situation, it's just an example, it doesn't mean to say this is what you're going through, but it's an example of how to deal with these trigger points that can come up during this transit. Okay, and then looking at it and saying, how do I want to proceed forward? So it can be coming about in a sense of a conversation, a trigger point, an emotion, a 3D situation. So even when we know we can't control other people, how we react to those situations is crucial. And Mercury's retrograde, so there you go, that's the reason why. Now, your crowning energy, off the bat, the first card, I could say it makes me laugh because spiritually, 12th house activation, it's the awakening card. But it's in reverse. Now it asks you in the upright to look at things from a different perspective, a temporary standstill. It's important to be yourself. That might be pretty hard if all these changes are happening. It's when we say we have a spiritual walk-in and part of the ascension process, the transformation process, sometimes, and it depends on the age bracket you are and your perspective in the situations going on, you're coming into life looking for who you are, but you're not the same person today that you were yesterday, nor will you be the person who you are tomorrow. But it's even more so because of the moon energy that we had last month, and then again even more so you will be picking up on the frequency that Saturn is going to be retrograding in your sign, and you're governed by Saturn, your very Saturn energy. So some of the things that are being out of your control might be a little bit frustrating because it's not your innate way of being. But in a spiritual walk-in, it's like two energies simultaneously are vibrating inside of you. So the old is there, but it hasn't been completely purged. So I deem it as a descension before the ascension, okay? So this is what's going on. It's like the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the shadow aspect. This is what's crowning you at the moment. It's like, okay, can I actually transform through this process? How do I perceive things? And it's quite a meditated state. Some of this can even be linking into last year or 3 years in general, because the card breaks down to a 3. Last year, it was a vibrational 3 year. This year is a vibrational 4. And ironically, in duality, it bodes very well. But there is something that you're reflecting back over where you're looking at it and you're wanting something to be quite different, but you don't quite know what those things are. Let's pull some clarifiers. I've got cards all over the shop here. What have I done? Bear with me. I told you I was doing this raw and organic. them up and shuffled them and put them upside down. There is a potential that because these changes are happening on an internal level, you may not be able to describe the reasons why this is happening. Now, Juno is going retrograde on the 8th. Juno is in Libra, and Juno is a feminine energy. It's linked to contracts, partnerships, love, romance, connections, and it's almost like the Judgment card of the Tarot. So for you, that falls in your 9th house, and your 9th house is to do with the spiritual awakening. Religion, education, foreign countries, and travel. So it's very Mercury energy. It's very, 12th house activation, your beliefs, how you link in with tribe. Now, the clarification for your awakening is a lot of self-worth energies going on. And again, the self-worth energy and the gifts and the blessings is 9 times out of 10 when you're actually going through a transformation. You can't see the hay for the woods. You're like, how is this going to be a blessing? How are these situations that have been playing out going to serve me? Again, do look at the lotus flower that grows amongst the murky waters. Beauty actually comes from it. When we're feeling down, 9 times out of 10 we don't seem to feel that way. It's only after the fact, and you may also have been through this yourself, where you've gone through and moved through adversity, and when you come to the other side, it's totally liberated you to a point you actually find the whole scenario amusing. But it's only ever after the fact, when you have your epiphany, your light bulb, eureka moment. This is what I feel potentially can be coming up for you guys, and it might even be an energy you're relating to and dealing with inside of other people. Something feels very unfinished. You have the 5 of fire. I do feel you're looking at the past, and potentially there was conflict where you don't wish to entertain conflict. But some of these things feel very karmic and very unfinished business. You have unexpected joy in reverse. It's like, it wasn't fun. I'm not seeing the silver lining in this situation. You saw a lot of fakeness, and it might have been connecting in with an old connection. I feel you're really assessing things at all levels. And I feel it's paradigms. And again, your belief of why do people do things the way they do things. And it almost feels very visually like the Judgment card, like looking from an external point of view at other people's energies, how they relate to situations, and feeling quite baffled by it. Feeling almost it's very unorganised, very unfinalised, haven't enjoyed the process, and it can be other people around you really going through massive changes, and then synchronistically you two are as well. At the heart of it, moving forward, there is a very content tribe that is moving towards you. And I do feel with your spiritual house being activated, what you're going to do is directly start attracting like-minded individuals. It also can be a relationship that is being attracted towards you. But I'm finding it's overall you feeling as though you're moving away from inconsistency. You may also be judging these situations of, skimming things over the surface, and it might be a conversational piece that you end up having with a group of people and saying, don't sugarcoat this, there's something going on deep down, and really coming from it from a very deep perspective spiritually. You may be doing this on an internal level and not speaking this, but there can be a subject that comes up and you really call somebody out on the situation. But again, it is about really going inside and understanding how we are all very different. We can't control other energies. We can only control our own energy. And I do feel, again, whatever is occurring, be it that they're triggering you or you're triggering them in some shape or form, it's to do with inconsistencies. Again, I'm seeing Uranus and Taurus and things changing. So some of the control potentially being outside of your hands, including other people around you. Yeah, really tired of the unhappy energy, having to do a lot of work, having to dive deep, being frustrated with blocks in the path. Again, as I mentioned, remember back to the beginning of the reading, this too is going to pass, and I've tried to explain in the video the reasons why this is coming through. Again, the solar plex chakra is needing some work on it, and when you do, this is what I found. When we tend to be having a blockage in one of the chakras, the lower chakras get very impacted, because in a theoretical way, we become too dense in the 3D. So we are looking at perspectives from a very reality-based situation. Example, if I want to achieve this target, I need to do X, Y, and Z, yet no solution appears. And in the first week of February, very much that frequency can be there. So it's more moving into the situation, feeling things out, the chops and changes coming through, and then having the clarity more so towards the end of the month. But with the end of the month energy, Pisces is coming through in the new moon, yes, clarify, on the 23rd, and it's at 4 degrees. So again, it is a critical degree, which means it's going to be a very sharp shift. But we really need to be coming into this from a perspective of, let's look at this from a very foundational way, and I've got to articulate this more effectively. Pisces, again, is connected in with the subconscious mind, but sometimes it's like skimming over the surface but not looking at the foundation. It can be almost like a Venus retrograde, where everything's feeling lighter, we've had a bit of a break, we've looked at something from a different perspective, and, you know, I'm hearing the energy really of sweeping certain situations under the carpet and hoping for a better day, that it's all going to be okay. We can fall into that during the new moon because of our needs, our wants, our desires, but really pay attention through the month of the patterns coming up and what your end goal is. Mercury retrograde is a great time to do a lot of reflection and fine-tune situations. Not so much jumping in the deep end of contracts, and Venus is going to be in Aries, so it's going to be from, when you look at it, Chiron and Aries, taking it from your perspective, what you're showing the world versus what they're showing you, and vice versa, how people see you versus how you're seeing the other side. So it's looking at it from both perspectives. Now, if you've been waiting on communication, again, Mercury retrograde, be careful. The energy is not only in what a person says, but what they don't say. So I'm seeing this to be quite cryptic in a sense. I feel in some creative venture and some family domain, in general, the chakra either is going through a transformative state, and many of us are at the 12th chakra system, so it's unique. If you've done work on yourself, what can happen is a pain body experience in that chakra can occur to activate other energies around you, but it's not that you've fallen down into that chakra. The old energy has been reactivated to actually trigger other people around you for that transformative frequency. You will come to it differently and, how can I say it, operate within it different to what you had before if you have actually unblocked that chakra. But when you are going through an awakened process, we do come down dense into the 3D and fall into the other old chakras. Once you become light and you have the energy of detachment, which I did a video last month connecting to detachment, you know you potentially don't have a solution to a problem. Going to the inner child wounds and looking at that and releasing, 9 times out of 10 a scenario of solutions come about. But our mind can become quite fixated on finding a solution. All we can do is what we have control over. And, you know, not getting yourself so on a pickle over it, even though some things can be so large, they can be so essential and important. But if there's legitimately nothing you can do, there's nothing you can do. So being in that cycle, even giving yourself a break for 20 minutes is essential for health. So there can be a delay on communication. There also can be a delay in information in any shape or form. This can be contracts, partnerships, legalities, judgment, however it be, even you making a final decision about where you're wanting to go. Finances are going to start moving through, but it's about the balance and the give and take. And this can even be a movement into you really looking at people, places, things you're wanting to invest in. but you're not completely making a judgment. It might be somebody was trying to stop you from making a decision. If this is you and you're doing this towards yourself, you had made a judgment, but you're second guessing it, sit on it for a little bit and go inside and look at the reasons why. And then really look at the movement forward, and don't allow people to manipulate you, because there can be an energy around you of manipulation where the give and take, I feel it's a leveling up, it's a balancing out that you're taking. And, you know, almost no choice but to proceed forward regardless of the conflict and the energy of what's transpiring around you. I'm even seeing with the management energy, which I discussed, which I'd been experiencing for a year. That was fun. Really the art of it was thinking on your feet through the flows and changes, knowing it would pass as well. And it's almost like going to school and having lessons and transforming and upgrading those energies, and then it shifts again. It's like, okay, a new action plan, let's apply this now. It's really having to think on your feet, and I do feel this month it's going to be quite choppy and changey. In your financial sector, you have the Ace of Air in reverse. Yeah, you're really meditating upon this, okay? So in the reversal, you're meditating upon all these changes that you're wanting to apply. If you are communicating and attempting to look for work, I feel it's more, if an offer is coming in, again, there can be a delay, but it's waiting for all the information to come through. During this time, for those of you who that applies, I do feel you'll more be thinking, am I relating to this anymore? Have I changed? Is it what I actually want? Those of you in employment and working on your cash component, I still see you guys doing the same. You're cleaning up old mess. You're trying to deal with adversity. It can even be having a lot of things going on around you. So, and spiritually speaking, when you're going through an awakening, 9 times out of 10, you'll stay in a position that you know like at the back of your hand, so that you can deal with all the tasks, so that you can spiritually have your upgrade. So you're more inclined to, you're quite safeguarded actually, because things will flow. But when universe feels you're ready to evolve through that situation, they can bring something, a tower at left field, but it's because universe feels energetically that you are ready. So if all of a sudden, there was a loss of job or something to that degree, no, you'll have everything that you actually need while you're undergoing that process, but things too are going to shift. So it's a temporary lag, but try not to tune too much into lack energy. Again, with the solar plexus and sacral chakra, those energies being in balance, it's a new chapter that's directly coming with you. So let the old go. Don't freak out, because what's coming is going to be far greater, especially with your Saturn return. It's like really shifting, having that upgrade. And it's like going back to school. Going back to school, going back to the table and going, okay, what do we do from here? Okay, that I outgrew, potentially I looked at it, and I'm even seeing this as a moment where some of you could even be getting a pay rise. This can be anything to that degree, but whatever it was before, it's not the same anymore, and it's changed. So when we get these signs from universe and we don't listen, it can become disastrous. If this job is not for you and you're delaying the inevitable, with the transits, it will give you 3 warning signs, and they can be actually major warning signs. It's the epiphany, it's living in that vibration. Then it's the energy of, okay, in my finances, the give and take in my life, the emotions, my abundance, my creativity, which is the inner child energy. It's the yellow chakra. It's your ability to create, which also is an aspect of manifesting. When the chakra is balanced, you tend to attract finances to you. But it's more about the spiritual process, the chakra being unblocked and the spindle spinning. Whatever has ended, allow it to go, because what's coming is far greater. It can be even upgrading to a promotion state. It also can be moving towards a new career altogether, or it's leaving this because it no longer serves you, and it's not a punishment, it is actually a blessing, but you'll see it as the weeks progress. Family and tribe, and again, this has been coming through the astrology. Now you've got the King of Air. feel some of you are going to have an epiphany moment. It may be through something that actually transpires in a family. Again, it can be sharing your advice with family members, tribe members, and describing how you deal with adversity versus potentially how they have been. Now, it might be by actions, but this could be an actual conversation. This could be a very separate energy. It could be someone who's trying to teach you aspects of yourself. It could be an air sign. As I mentioned, Juno will be going retrograde. It's in Libra, so there is the air energy there, and it does fall again in your 9th house, which the 9th house is a spiritual energy. So this can be happening to you. Universe can be showing you this. But it also could be something you directly are teaching someone. Speaking your mind with confidence, which is unique because we're going to be having Mercury retrograde. So it's going to have to be really speaking with confidence, which Aquarians are very... You guys are really confident, actually, when you look at it. And when you're passionate about something, it's a bit like a lawyer energy. You know, you go in there and you're like, I firmly believe this. You're a humanitarian. Speaking your mind with confidence. Seeking out professional advice. That could be me, that could be anyone. It could be a lawyer, it could be energies of, and again, it could be something to that degree, but nothing's going to be taken from you that isn't already yours. Balancing mental and emotional considerations, 12th house activation, the hidden, the subconscious mind, but it's the assessment of that prior to the action of that. So if you can deal with the situation within tribes, family, workplaces, etc., and within relationships, this month it's really going to benefit you. But I do feel, you know, whatever is lost, it can be retrieved. It's not, it can be an energy where with the 12th house, you may be getting a lot of psychic downloads from a loved one who's passed over. Now, this could have been last year. This also could be something in a pain body experience that you had blocked out because you had been attempting to proceed forward. And it can actually jolt a spiritual awakening, to be quite honest. So if something to that degree has happened and you're getting downloads, it's a very unique gift to work with. It's not like we have a toolkit and we can actually develop it. Some of the things can be so subliminal, which again is videos I have to do. But I've only got 2 hands and 1 head, so in your mind, when you've got your 12th chakras, you know, you're kind of looking at it going, okay, how am I going to multitask this? But you've got to break it down. Plan, foundation, next step. Yeah. I do feel this potentially can be a meeting. You may actually be also meditating upon where home is. And home energy is very much not a location. And this is part of the process through the spiritual awakening. And that's where with the Uranus transits, with the squaring aspects and the changes that come out of left field, you don't hold on to that so rigidly. When we have our foundation set, and again, it will depend on the age bracket, when the foundation is set, 9 times out of 10, what you find is you have your work, you have your tribe changes, because especially with the 12th house activation, you may purge friendships, you may purge, and it won't matter who the person is. People may come from an ego experience and say because they can, you have to. If a person's vibration is not matching your vibration, it will naturally be removed from you. And this isn't about person passing. This is in general, from a spiritual point of view, for people's energy to upgrade. It isn't a punishment. It's a choosing of energies to partake in. I was driving in the car today, coming home, and for the last 3 years I've been meditating upon the factor of needing to become like a Buddhist monk. Looking into the astrology, going through ascension symptoms, and how can one get to that space. I turned on the radio and there was a vibration I didn't like. And I was like, that's not how I am right now. I've worked on my vibration. I'm being selective about who I energetically call because they interfere with my schedule. That's a me problem. If I have my schedule on check, I have more time to actually partake in exchanges. So energetically, I'm fine, and I turn the radio on, and it's a low vibration song, not linking in with where my vibration is at a high level. I change the channel. Listen to that energy for a while. Downloads, happy. Song changed again, same situation, change the channel. We can create our own weather, and this is something you know, if you haven't learnt already, the art of becoming a Buddhist monk is knowing that you have complete control over the vibration. A person can trigger an old vibration in you and a new vibration. Staying in that vibration temporarily is perfectly normal. Choosing to jump out of that and shift your energy is completely something you have control over. So that may mean removing yourself from an environment. It can be focusing on Neptune energy of a dream. Partaking in something very simple as listening to music, using some meditation time. There's different ways in which we can shift that. We can't change what another person does. Sometimes we can't even change the environment, but we can actually walk to actually shake that energy off. So it's giving us a break from a continuity of a toxic vibration. Example, your health, High Priestess energy, very positive. Listen to your intuition. I had a reader tell me that once, because even as readers we go to remove our ego and hear the downloads of what we've had from a very separate external source. Listen to your intuition, have patience, consider carefully what you want before acting. This is your health and your environment, and it's very much 12th house. Inner child wounds. Okay, can be to do with children, can be to do with your belief systems about children, family, connections, how it links in, how it's correct, organisation. I'm also feeling a very Virgo energy, because sometimes in our mind, when we've had a belief system or we've had a trigger, we can micromanage situations to prevent change or to prevent that trigger from coming about, and it's virtually impossible. It's going to happen at all times. So some people ask, how do we get that pain body experience out of us? And it is at a point looking at it from various perspectives, also looking at it from outside of yourself. But then coming to a place where if that vibration is then triggered in you, it's almost you're acknowledging it like it's a separate energy and saying, okay, thanks for reminding me about that nasty thing that happened to me way back when. Yes, it kind of looks similar, this new situation coming up, and this makes me feel all sorts of ways, but how can I change that? I had to pause because there was a phone call and it was making all sorts of noise. So as I was saying, it's about, you know, how it directly relates to you in here and now. And that's how we can directly deal with the trigger. Now, in the unseen position, you do have victory. So a lot of what you're trying to achieve, what you're going to experience is moving through this frequency and dealing with the adversity. You are actually going to use the Mars energy. And Mars is going to be in Capricorn. Now, in certain aspects, it can become malefic. If you're using it effectively and correctly, the Capricorn energy is almost the accountability. And with the nodes being in Cancer and Capricorn, especially with the eclipse we had last month, the frequency in Cancer will relate to your family, your tribe, and we've seen what's happening here. You're looking at it from a different perspective. There are some changes, but with the Uranus aspect of those changes happening, how can we bounce with those things? How can we get to a place where we are able to adjust, and it might not feel comfortable, but it's going to be a very gradual process. But the epiphanies of what those changes are and what the necessities are, it can even be a home-related environment that's changing, and maybe you are changing. So what your needs are versus what other people's needs potentially may not match. But regardless, these downloads are going to come to you. And with the Capricorn energy, it's like, okay, if we're valuing something and if we have self-worth and self-value, what are those things going to mean? And it can mean from the inner child wounds, the yellow chakra, you know, what steps are we going to have to take in an empowerment where we're making direct decisions before decisions are made for us. Regardless, I am feeling this is a very positive energy, because you're going to have victory moving through into your Saturn return. Yeah, the blessings aren't all in the finances. The blessings are actually in, you know, the lessons and the things that you're moving through. And it's almost an assessment of what you deem as value, because your clarification card is money in reverse, the value in reverse. It's the give and take, getting that situation back in balance. The analogy I use on YouTube of the way we're conditioned in childhood that if we're good, we'll get an ice cream, and then the ice cream truck breaks down. So therefore, doesn't mean we weren't good. And we can have a pain body experience from that. We can look at it and go, okay, so give. Why am I not receiving? Well, we're giving because we choose to, but it's also about picking the people we give to. Are they in alignment with us? And is it a belief system potentially we're having inside ourselves that it's okay to constantly not receive? And that can be really a situation that you guys are particularly working through and blocked by, that the give and take in situations potentially hasn't been here. Now, by you doing the work on that, the manifestation of that directly comes back to you, because your mindset has changed, and it's no longer a chess game. It's more, it's not even an expectation. It's a vibrational belief in its alignment. Once that is alchemized inside you, you then have this energy that you're applying the energy back onto yourself, and the victory is within your spirituality. So the laws of attraction bring those things to you. So work through this energy this month, and we're going to look at your romance house now. I just feel overall you guys are really looking at things from a very fly on the wall kind of way. Dealing with any obstacle that comes your way, you're going to have to be very, very organized. Creating healthy boundaries is going to be crucial, but also understanding the shades of grey in between, and that's why I mentioned the Virgo energy. Virgos can be very perfect in a sense that they want to see the proof in the pudding, and in a way it's similar to having an expectation that you're assessing it and you're not operating in it unless you know the direct outcome, and there's no certainty of that. So even the Virgo energies will be finding this transit quite challenging, because they're very used to really using their intuition, looking at things, assessing them, weighing up the pros and cons, and reacting. Not necessarily, if we have that as an ability, is that how it's going to be. You have the Queen of Air in reverse as your crowning energy in your romance house. Something might not be as clear as you think it is. Objective decision making, clearing away all that no longer serves you. Now this is in reverse, seeing the human in the situation, because when you're going through it, you're not. Now with this judgment energy of Juno retrograde in Libra, again I do see this energy with the air, Queen of Air, coming through in that very way. How it's operating, it's your crowning energy, is your contracts, your partnerships, your relationships, looking at things, but having to look at the spiritual nature of things. Right now you might not understand the reasons why certain things are happening. There may be a lot of changes inside you directly happening, and that could be shaping the way romance proceeds for you just in the here right now. Now you're reflecting back on the happy days, the pretty picture, how things used to be versus potentially how they are. At the heart of the read, which is a direct outcome regardless, your intent is pure. So you do have an intent regardless of what you're not seeing, the downloads you're getting. Again, do drink water and use amethyst to actually assist with your crown chakra. I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video, which I may actually link something in later after editing where I can mention that. So if you do notice it at the beginning of the video, it's because I've edited it after. Because the purple chakra is linking into the crown chakra. When you're having downloads and you're going through an awakening, the only thing that will block it is fluid. So fluid can actually help the flow of that situation. Also getting yourself grounded where you can take your shoes off. Balance your base chakra, because the two need to align. The blockages and the power is not only in what you're feeling and seeing, but the transformation and the downloads you're getting psychically. Overall, at the heart of it, you do have the Star, which is a very positive thing, and it's a very pure intent you're coming to the table with. Everything and every reason you are doing something, and all the hard work you've done and all the adversity you've been through, it is 8. So it does feel like your intent has always been a very pure intent, a very responsible intent. Potentially people haven't understood that as a fairy with you. Then you have the 9 of Fire in reverse. And again, whenever I see 9, I do think about meditation, your subconscious mind, because when you're going through a descension and you're getting psychic downloads in your relationship, within a connection, within your choices that you're trying to make in romance, sometimes we do need quiet space to meditate upon those things. And with the 9, some of you are thinking, do you need to give up? Because it is in reverse. Some of you feel very, very vulnerable. But again, it's not you giving up, it's you living in detachment. So detachment doesn't mean that you get to a space where you, how do I put it? You're accepting of the ebbs and flows of a transformation in any connection, be it you're with them, be it you're not. The laws of attraction are, if something is meant to be with you, and it's really what we all should really wish for. If something is meant to be, it will be. You won't have to fight for it. While we have this knowledge or this frequency in a belief system that you have to fight for something or earn it somehow, again, it is a belief system that we're breaking down. I feel some of you may be reacting to romance, your belief systems, your energy, and what you're trying to attract from a very calm, detached perspective of acceptance, an observation, an upload, a download. You get what I'm saying? You do have the magician as your crowning energy. Now, the magician, in a sense, is a manifester, but from a pure place. Being able to manifest, and it was funny because this morning, thinking on your reading before I got home, there is a street that is called Tesla that I go past, and you know, I mentioned the radio and changing the channel. I then saw the sign Tesla, which was a mass manifester. Apart from the fact that for him, he didn't have the emotional connection to the patterning that many of us may have experienced through life, which is a toolkit which I'm going to be making. It can be codependency, it can be victim consciousness. He lived a very soulless life where he was quite detached. So some of the experiences, potentially, he chose energetically to be similar to Spock on Star Trek, being an observer of energies. Now, when you are disconnected from the pain body experiences, where you know they're there, but you also live a vibration of the ebbs and flows, and you're present in the moment, you have no expectations, so you're in complete alignment. You find when you're blocked, you don't understand why things are happening, and everything seems so very hard. Doors are closing, roads aren't opening, solutions aren't coming about, and it is a purge. So you go down, you're operating through your third eye, you're thinking of it, and you're going, gosh, I can't see a way out. As soon as you're exhausted and you release and you say, I just need to be, bang, solutions turn up. And it's alchemization of a situation. It's understanding it takes two to tango. It's understanding that both energies have the ability to manifest, but you also within your vibrational core field. And I'm feeling it's an understanding. It's a really tuning into what are you wishing to manifest. Once you reach this point, and this can be happening this month, and it's preparing you for next month, whatever that be, it can be things that are shifting, but it can be where you're feeling really like you're spiraling. So it depends on how you're relating to it, because each energy is very unique. Now, a family-related dynamic is coming up for you guys. You're in the Empress energy. Wow. You have both cards here that really are linking into the astrology at the moment. Empress very much connecting with the moon energy, the feminine energy, and the Devil card, which is very Capricorn, which is linking into the nose in Capricorn. So there are two main areas of life that you're changing, and it's really looking at, you know, your feminine and your masculine balancing inside of you, which is really, really great. It does mean that you separately to this connection are really moving into complete alignment and really adjusting your perspective and perception. And it's like you've used this scenario in a visual and an education to actually change inside yourself and unbeknownst to this person. You can have a mother energy that is coming up. Now, in any moon stage, it's looking at the deeper reasons why we have connections in that chakra with that person in an observation sense, our opinions, feelings, psychic downloads, and how it directly relates to our life. It can be women in general. It can be what you're trying to create. You also have, you know, really a decision. So to me, this is fears of commitment, but it can be you or another person, but it's not so much that you are afraid to commit. You're in an assessment state. So I feel this is more the energy, and everyone goes through this. It's okay. I need to understand exactly what is happening here. I need to understand this transformation. I need to understand this deep, deep connection that chains me, that tempts me. There could also be an offer on the table that you're looking at, but very separately, it can be looking at the amount of energy you'd have to put in to really change the power you have on your side and the power the other person has on theirs and what they'd need to do. While we're tuning into that, as long as we're tuning into it from our perspective, we're fine. But once we tune into the energies of what that person would need to change for this to balance out, what you do tend to find is you're in a meditated state. So the solution doesn't come about because you're not trusting in the process, which is, it's completely natural at times to detach from what another person needs to do. The reason I'm saying that is once you actually shift the energy back onto yourself, it's very bright. The energy is very bright and tempting. It also then, in order for them to be aligned similar to you, it's this earnest, honest communication, earnest, honest vibration that if something isn't in alignment with you, they will have to upgrade. They will have to energetically transform. And it won't be, yes, I know they need to do that. It's really shifting that energy where you pay it none, because what's going on with you is massive and it's huge growth. You are picking your swords up and you're recouping. And again, I have mentioned this coming through your read. You're having an upgrade. You're going through a transformative state. At the heart of it, you know, the delusions, illusions, and situations and the choices, there is one choice. The choice is, what do you feel is correct for you? You may also feel in general, this person potentially feels they have too many choices, but you also have choices. So it's whatever we see in another person we directly have inside ourselves, but 9 times out of 10 we fail to remember that. Any choice is a choice. No choice is a choice. Overall for them, they do know that this transformation is going to come about. They do know that you are everything that they wish and more. But they are looking inside their lives and realising that some of those things, their cup, they're needing to alter and change. I am seeing overall for you guys who are actually in a relationship, and I do connect with energy in general for love, there can be a work-related dynamic, and there also, some of you, there can be the energy of a child that's going to be born. I'm also seeing a project, but you're really looking at the situations for you guys as a couple of what you're going to need to do to bring this full circle. When you're going through that, there are going to be great options there, but you do need to pick the high road in a sense of spirituality, because this can be about dreams, fantasies, very Neptunian energy, very innovative. Had to really get that one out. And again, what your sign stands for is very much almost planting, you know, organisation, judgment, balance. How do I put it? With the 7, it's about making those spiritual choices, not all that glistens as gold. Really not skimming over the surface. And I've mentioned this the whole way through your read. Looking at it from a perspective of what choices you're going to make, what's within your power, what's not. Okay, there is going to be movement. You may feel as though everything is overwhelming you. You might feel that you need to detach. You know, this has been going on too long. I need to take a leap of faith forward, but I'm feeling that's part of the solution. 9 times out of 10 when we feel very stuck, there you go, the outcome. Knowing that this person has all the tools just as you do, and it takes 2 to tango. And I do feel you potentially might be looking at their pain body experience from a very psychic position and be understanding empathically why they do the things they do, but you can't empty your cup to a point where, you know, the giving and receiving is an imbalance, and that did come through here too. But at the end of the month, I am feeling there is movement and victory. I do feel your career is going to really amp up, but I just feel it's a shake-up overall with you where your whole life is going to be changing, especially with the first house placement. When it does come to this relationship, Aquarians have a deep need for a friendship and a relationship, and I do feel this is in great assessment as well. So the Judgment card and the downloads, you can be having dream states where you're getting synchronistic messages coming through, and you're getting psychic downloads to do with maybe what your pain body experience is, maybe what you believe versus what you're actually feeling, and it feels like opposing forces. This can also be you feeling you're ahead of this person in an awakened state, and it can be even what you're tuning into is this person needs to go through a transformation and potentially you're more ahead. That can be in your relationships, it can be with your family, it can be with your finances. In general, you're transforming. So what you're ushering in if you've manifested something in this Magician energy, and in the romance house, this is everything in the laws of attraction, not just love. So even if you currently may not have somebody in your life right now, because you're going through this shift, all areas are going to change. So it's what you've accidentally manifested, but it's an upgrade, it's change, it's Uranus and Taurus. Almost like an egg getting ready to hatch. It's inevitable, it's going to happen. You've got the Empress. Love and light. If you want a booking, link below. I can psychically tune into you, and I'll see you during the month for the Leo moon.